Hi, welcome to the Craft channel. My name's Corinne Bradd, and today I want to show you a very simple demonstration to make some corded friendship bracelets. I say cord, it's almost like a braid. This one is made with 7 different colours, and this one is made with 13 different colours. And it is a very simple technique. It's possibly something you've learned in brownies before. But what you want to do is cut yourself a disc of fairly thick card, make a hole in the centre of it, ideally pierce the hole with a pair of scissors, and then gradually make it bigger and bigger and bigger with a pencil, trimming off excess card so it's relatively smooth. And then you want to cut slits around the outside. Now for a 7 corded bracelet, you want to cut 8 slits. For a 13 corded bracelet, you want to cut 14 slits. And I think you can possibly do even more numbers to make thicker braids, as long as the number of threads that you use are divisible by 6 when you take one away from it. So 7, take one away is 6. Not divisible by 6 at all, it's divisible by 3. So 7 minus 1 is 6, which is divisible by 3. 13 minus 1 is 12, which is divisible by 3. So I would assume you could possibly do it with 16, because once you take one away, 15 is divisible by 3. So I've got here 7 pieces of embroidery floss that are about 80 centimetres long. I've stacked them together, I've folded them in half, and I've just put a knot of embroidery floss on the end here. And what I'm going to have to do is cut one of these away in a minute, so I've only got 13 threads instead of 14. But before I do that, I'm just going to twist these threads in the middle. Fold it up, and then tie an overhead knot like so. And you want to leave yourself a loop that you can get your finger into, because that will be the loop that you thread the ends of your braid into afterwards. So pull that knot really tight, and then decide which colour you want the least of. We'll go for, got quite a lot of purples in there, so I'll actually take that darkest purple out. And cut it off close to the knot. You then want to pop your loop and your knot through the hole of your cardboard disc, like so. And we'll just tape that in place, if I can find my tape. Just tape that in place on the underside, before you then arrange your threads around the circle. And what you want to do is, perhaps if you stagger your threads, in a repeat pattern, that's 5. So I've got another colour that I've got 2 of, which is this pink. And then I've got that spare single dark purple. And then start again with the green. So the green sits opposite the other green. And you don't have to follow this religiously, this colour pattern, but what it does mean is that your braid, as it were, has some kind of regularity to it. So there we go. So I've filled 13 of the 14 slots on my disc, and I've got a little jellyfish of thread hanging down here. Now before you start to braid, what I would suggest you do is you mark on this circle either an anti-clockwise or a clockwise arrow. Now because I'm left-handed, I'm going to work anti-clockwise. If you're right-handed, you might find it easier because I'm going to move these threads with this hand. If you're right-handed, you might want to move them in a clockwise direction. And the other thing that I discovered is, if you take this piece of tape off the bottom, you need to provide some kind of tension on those threads as you work. And so that you can get these Kumihimo stools that you actually hang a weight off the bottom of your work. If you don't have a weight, you just grab a spare set of keys. Might be a bit of clanking during this video, but you don't want anything too heavy, but equally you don't want something that's going to flop about too much. And just loop a weight into that bottom loop. And then you start braiding. So hold it on the knot, but don't grip the knot, just hold it so the knot is between your fingers and is being tensioned by your weight, and count 1, 2, 3 and move that into the spare slot, and then from the gap 1, 2, 3 and move it into the spare slot, and continue round, moving every third thread from the empty space into the empty space. Don't tug on those threads too tightly as you put them back into the slot, but make sure they're taut. And you can probably see in the middle that these threads are all starting to cross over each other. But it's not until you've done this, several full circuits of your braiding disc, that you'll actually start to see the end result. What you might find as you're doing it is they seem to cross too much. If you just pull that thread towards the centre before you tuck it back in there, that's just going to smooth out any crossings and keep the tension even. As you work. So I'm just going to flip this over because I don't know if you can start to see the beginning of the braiding. Possibly not. But just keep working that braid. And this is one of these projects that you can do while you're sitting in front of the TV. As long as you keep an eye on what you're doing, or half an eye on what you're doing, because it's not the quickest project in the world. But what it does do, and I'm just going to put this down because otherwise this video is going to be about an hour long, is it produces, let's just move these along, this woven braid and once you've reached the end of your braiding, if you've got to the end of your braiding, if you get yourself a bit of tape and just wrap it around the end of your braid, separate the loose ends into 2 bunches and then plait each bunch down to the end of the braid and tie it with an overhand knot before you remove the tape. And then thread any beads onto it that you want, and simply take one end of your plaited strip, your plaited thread, pop it through that loop at the top of your braid, so that you can then tie it, or get somebody else to tie it, because actually tying a friendship bracelet onto your own wrist is not that easy. But you can tie it onto your wrist and wear it as a bracelet. So this is a lovely little project for children, because there's, once you've cut the threads and once you've cut the slots in your disc, there's very little else cutting to do. It's a great project in the car if they're bored. And as I say, I use just normal 6-strand embroidery cotton for this. And you can either do it as single threads, or you can double up the threads depending on how thick the braid is that you want to make. So I'm just going to take my keys off the bottom of this before I lose them. And I'm going to leave you to ponder on that, and to cut yourself a disc and just have a play around. If you're in any doubt to start with, just use 7 threads in 8 slots around a disc. And if you want to do it with something like DK yarn or something, so you can build that braid up quicker and you can see what you're doing quicker, because it's great when you've got a project that gives you like an instant satisfaction. Thanks very much for watching. We'll be back again very, very soon with all kinds of other crafts for you. In the meantime, please keep safe, and we'll see you soon. If you've been inspired to create, please share your makes with us in the comments section below. And if you've enjoyed videos by the Crafts channel, hit the like button. Want to see more of us? Then click subscribe. See you next time.